The form of therapy, of course, that we use is what I call attachment-based relationship therapy, and a lot of interactive experiences and so on. How did you feel about that as opposed to setting your child down and talking to them about how they should figure this all out differently? What did you think as you entered into that sort of interactive system to sort of create this change?
Yeah, I mean, I remember driving home and Cindy the first day, I was like, what did we just do? We just played games, didn't we? I was like, did we just get taken? We just played games for like 30, 40 minutes. You know, I was like, you know, and I think you're so preconditioned by the world's set of how things work. You just think, oh, we're going to come in here and we're going to sit down and maybe we're going to, you know, give them a talking to or whatever. or, you know, or there'll be like, here, do this or try this, you know. But it was more, you know, it really was. It was play-based. It was fun. My kids were, yeah, my daughter especially was just really excited to come, you know. And, you know, and I got into it too. I think it's a lot of fun. And I think what was really good about the sessions was you're in there with us, but you're really, you know, really getting us to do the stuff. You know, we're not sitting and you're kind of doing it and we're watching you do it. You know, you've showed us how to do it and then you just say, you know, kind of do it.
It's so simple. I mean, it's just easy stuff and fun stuff, and you think, well, how come we couldn't just figure that out ourselves? You know, why didn't we just know that? And to enjoy your child again after, you know, times of chaos where you didn't really always enjoy your child. You know, it was fun to do that and then to bring that into our home. I mean, and to have our daughter say, oh, he's so much better. I mean, within days, oh, she could see a world of difference in him. And it just made our whole home life just fun again. And you're like, well, why couldn't we just, why didn't we know that?
Yeah, it's just executing those simple tasks, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the tasks themselves aren't hard. I mean, they're playful, they're all that. It's just being coached on how to do them correctly and how to, you know, make that benefit your child.
Yeah. We routinely do the games at home. I mean, like, we'll be outside and we'll just be playing outside and then we're like, hey, let's play some games, and we just do the games and we just do all that kind of stuff, and it's good.
I think it's good for me too, because for a while my job was actually sitting down and face-to-face dialoguing with college students and working things out through verbal. Plus I'm a woman and I also just love to talk anyways, and that's what I do with my friends, and so I can see myself want to go back to well, let's talk about this. Why is this happening? But the realizing and really learning that they need my input, they don't need my dialogue. And even at their age, when we first came in and now, they can't sit down and talk about it because they don't understand it. They don't know what's going on in their hearts. And so being able to, through action here, together, just the three of us, but also living that at home, helps them process the things in their hearts without them really understanding what's going on, too.
Now I remember something about singing "Hello, my name is Joe" at a mall one night.
We were waiting at Fridays at Bloomington. You can get a show there. And the kids were just hungry and tired, and so we just went outside and started singing "Hello, my name is Joe" in our little over there by the Fridays. But it pulled the kids together, and it got us through that waiting period to be able to just, so that they could go in and sit down and they were all together or on the same page, and just it entertained them and got them through. But it put us all, like I said, up just together in the same wavelength. That I know you're tired, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I liked the sense of connectedness we got during the play sessions, and just doing something with her that's fun and doesn't have a lot of expectations or anything that she has to live up to. Kind of created a safe environment for me to make it easier to evaluate how she was reacting to me and what she needed from me. And so then I was able to kind of transfer that into other things, daily routines in our life. And
so you're more attuned to meet their needs. And
That actually made me think of having gone through this. I mean, it's still, like what you said, it's a marathon. Like, we're still every day having to make choices to not be reactive. And my main mode, apart from building new habits and for it to become naturally, there are still moments where it feels like I can slip back and be reactive. And it made me think, even last night, our daughter was having a hard time, and somehow through one of the sessions, whether I think it was the intensive, we created up this song that helps me, it helps our children, but it actually helps me maintain the attitude of caring and playfulness and not being reactive. And it's to the tune, if you're happy to know it, clap your hands, and we would fill in the words, if you do whatever, I will love you anyways, and we sing it over and over again. And so in the beginning it was for our kids, but now it's actually a tool that I use for myself, that when I want to be reactive, I just kind of choose to sing the song even though I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm going to love you even if you bite me, I'm going to love you even if you scream, and it just kind of takes down my guard of, okay, I'm not going to be reactive anymore. So even that 20 seconds of that song kind of helps me. And so even the playfulness helping our children has helped me maintain that attitude.
Well, yeah, I think it gives you something when you want to be reactive about, but in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can still react to the situation, but in a positive way, like that. You know, I love you even when you hit me. I love you even when you turn your back to me. And then, you know, I tell her that, and I'll always love you no matter what you do. And I've made in this past month how much that diffuses her from not being mad at me anymore. Like, you know, we'll be going to bed or something, and yeah, that's usually the time where she really kind of gets back to being more, you know, at nighttime, especially lights go off, and she'll like really, if I just kind of pat her and say, okay, good night. And, you know, she did that one night and the lights, we were just done reading. She had been real cuddly and happy, and then all of a sudden it started moving to that quickly. And then she did. I was like, I love you when you turn your back to me. I always love you. And she kind of went, or I said, no, did I make you mad? Did I do something? And just get engaged and try to understand what the issue is. And she turned back, and it's just like, you know, she comes back to me now, and it's much quicker. And it's just, you know, and I feel like the bottom line is it gave me tools on how now to do it. Where before, like, okay, well, I won't talk to you either, you know, and that's typical, I think, what a parent says. You want to talk to me?
I'm out of
here. And rather than doing that, and how would you react to that? You'd push away, you know, and this just kind of gets you to say, you know, unconditional love, I'm here for you. And then I think they start to learn that after time, and it's just, feels good all around.
Had any of you been involved in other therapies or tried other therapies prior to coming into attachment-based relationship therapy? And if you had, how did that go? And how was this different than what you'd experienced?
We had, they call it home-based therapy, but it's where the therapist goes to wherever your child is. My daughter's therapist would go to her school. We would not talk to the therapist for months. We didn't know if or when she saw our daughter, what they talked about, what they did or didn't do. So that was very different, obviously.
So you weren't involved in the therapy as the adults. It was whatever the therapist did with the child.
Yeah, and we didn't even know if she had seen the therapist. I mean, we didn't even get a report of, I saw her. It was just complete uninvolvement.
I see.
Which they do that so you don't have to take your kids to therapy every week because
you're not burdened.
Right. Yes, you're not burdened with the actual child.
Well, then our son in his play therapy, a different therapist, and he would never tell us anything except that, well, if you just fix yourself, then your son would be okay.
That's encouraging.
Wow.
That's helpful. Thanks.
I felt
dude.
really good about that.
Really worth it.
Well, and we had our 8-year-old, and she is a wonderful human being, of course. And so we were kind of looking at this guy going, we're pretty good parents, you know, and I'm pretty sure these aren't normal issues that we're having here. And so that was very discouraging on top of that, because he was telling us if we were just get it together, and we thought, we think we have it together. But he never told us anything we should do, we should be better. Right, just get it together.
Just do something different.
Anybody else engage in other traditional therapies prior to coming here?
Thankfully, no.
When I
You
was
tried your best.
when I was looking for someone to help us, I got the same thing from someone. We were put in this, what I felt like was a very artificial environment. It was a small room with no toys and lots of people, and it was all three of us, and I had to answer question after question after question while the kids sat there with nothing to do. So of course they're climbing all over me, and being kids. And at the end of the 2 hours, the outcome was, well, you're just really too permissive of a parent, and you need to set some boundaries, and everything will be fine.
So there's more blame to that approach than help.
Right. Yeah, I didn't feel good leaving there. I felt even more of a failure than when we started and we hadn't found the help we needed. And then the next stop was a behavioral management plan, they gave us, which I already knew wouldn't work, but we tried it again anyway. And, it was a marble in a jar, and it lasted for maybe 3 days. And
So more of a traditional rewards kind of thing, or deprivation kind of thing.
The other thing that we found with the traditional therapists, especially for our son, was when our son decided that he was done with therapy for that day, it was over. If it had been 10 minutes, that was fine. The therapist would just bring him back out to the office and say he decided he was finished.
So he was in charge of that.
And then he drove himself home. With your wallet.
And the therapist's wallet too, because he wanted that,
We did have a neurological exam done on our son at a hospital when he was not quite 3, and it's interesting. They did the exam and had him, play with some blocks and do some things, and it was fine. And they called us and said, he's all right and he's doing okay, and he's about where we think he should be, for right now. And I think that in some ways he probably was, cognitively maybe, or attention-wise, and some of those skill sets. He was getting that. What we were missing, I think, was the emotional side, and they didn't really assess that. And I still feel like it was a step on our journey, but of course, you look back.
Yeah, so easy.
Something else.
Well, we didn't get therapy elsewhere. I guess similar things along, going to our physician and.
We went to an international adoption clinic to have her evaluated when we got home, and there was no
For like medical
type things, but they looked at cognition and things like that, but there was no discussion of
right. And our daughter, first
emotional
year,
health.
she barely ate anything, and we went to our doctor about it, and it was more, we'll just feed her fattier stuff and put more butter in, and
but she won't eat anything.
Yeah, but if I can't get it in her mouth, it doesn't matter how fatty it is. She'd go a whole day sometimes without eating anything, and that just last we were worried about her nutrition.
Yeah.
And I guess in looking at that, and one of the first few sessions we had with Rick, and he was explaining kind of what she's been through, and we mentioned the eating, and he's like, well, think about when you're really stressed, and people go through divorce, have a death, you don't eat, you're stressed.
Oh,
and it's like,
but I know some people don't.
It's like, and also so obvious, like,
why didn't our pediatrician tell us
we
this?
had medical, from the, looking at the medical approach and versus just the, from the other point of view, and it's like, and her daughter's always been very mature, we thought, because she's very smart. She always figures things out. Even at a year and a half old, our relatives are always saying, "Wow, I can't believe how she does this and that," and she's always so well behaved and calm, and she just seemed. We always thought she's so mature, and realizing, well, she's just holding things in and not, being a kid. She thinks she has to be an adult. So it's like all these things you look back now and you're like, I didn't see that. How was that? But if we hadn't gone through this, we still wouldn't see that.
She did have some speech therapy. We did some speech therapy for some language delays, and I think that was a more traditional therapy, and I think that a lot of what we were working on was more of an attachment-based problem necessarily than just a speech production problem. So there were some not conflicts, but just some differences of opinion.
Yeah, it was tough for
Speech
that
therapy.
therapist to understand what we were going through, and she kept wanting us to socialize she kept wanting us to socialize our daughter more, and she, even asked us if we were going to put her in a daycare, because Christy stays home with her, and she thought that would be beneficial for her to socialize, and we're trying to explain to her, like, well, she needs to get structure and a base with us first, and it was just so hard, and we finally gave up trying to explain it, she was really, I think a key was our daughter really needs to learn how to socialize with other kids, and that would help her more. And it's like, well, she can't socialize with us very well. Now, how do you think it's going to help her to socialize with kids? And so I guess that other type of therapy was there.
I think it's interesting as parents, with our son, we had all these books about shapes and colors and learning words, and we were so focused on him catching up developmentally, and we were very focused on him understanding his adoptions. We had all these adoption stories and about, we wanted to be as truthful and honest as forthcoming with all that, but we missed that, you're my son and I love you type books. We thought the way we were conveying love would make sense to him, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. And so, now I really look at it and think, there's 3 parts to that. Yeah, they've got to learn their shapes and colors, and yeah, they need to understand their adoption, but they also need that extra boost in nurturing too. And so the books that we've read in therapy and then we've started incorporating into our home life have been really helpful just to communicate everything, the whole package. We were missing that nurture. We didn't think we were missing it, but we were missing that nurturing package, clearly.
My wife and I, we didn't try really any other kind of attachment therapies or anything like that, but we'd read some different books and things. But I think one of the things that I appreciated most is we did like a lot of the physical development therapy, those kind of things, and then speech therapy, those things. But I think a lot of times, and it sounds like what you guys are saying, is a lot of times people are quick to say, well, here's what you need to do, and this is the problem, or to assign blame to what's going on, and or a quick fix. And I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about Rick and what we did here was, I think Rick looked at it holistically. It was, how we interact with, our kids and how our kids are interacting, and never once were we talking about, well, who's to blame or what's at fault or what's going on. I think it was more about how can we just help you get from here to where you want to be, and help your children get to where they want to be, and be successful. And I think one of the things that's been that I've enjoyed about the process is I don't think Rick has ever said, here's the quick fix. It's always, there's work involved in the process, and it's not like this is going to be the quick fix for you guys. And he never sugarcoated it or pretended it wouldn't be that, It's just what you got to do.
We brought up a couple, like an issue once about what happened. We were wondering what the cause or what might have been going on. And it's like, well, we may never know, but here's what we need to do to work her through it. So it doesn't really matter, like, what the exact cause or what burden she had in her past that's making her do this now. But, regardless of what it is, it's there. So here's what we can do to get her to move through it and deal with it. Yeah. So
I think one of the other things too, just to kind of piggyback on a previous question you asked about the therapy here too, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about coming here is, we have 2 kids, and our oldest son has had so many, little nuances and issues that he's got going on. And, there's all sorts of therapy and those kind of things. And pretty soon you just start to feel a little bit bad. Like, this kid probably feels like he's just a project, and here, it's fun, and it's an enjoyable place to come and play. And
we come to Rick's house to play sometimes. That's what she says.
And just, I think you get a sense, at least I felt from Rick, it's just, this is just kind of like home. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to just be with your kids and have time to, play with your kids. And there's not a lot of medical to it, or anything about it. It's just, this is a good place to be.
Sounds like some of your guys' other experience at therapies and seeing, like, how she just asked you questions the whole time, and your daughter or your child are just off to the side. And, coming here, I realized how much I could learn and grow from it when one of the first or second session when Rick starts off leading it, right, and he's interacting with your child to kind of show the example of how it can be done. And he was able to lead her and direct her like I've never been able to. And I'm just looking like he's almost never met her before, and she's following his lead and stuff. And it's not because he's a stranger and she's just doing that. She would never do it to anybody. It's just more he understands how to read and anticipate needs and meet those needs first. And I think that was the biggest eye opener, that this would work, because he's met her one other time and she's following his lead on almost everything. And then we go home and I can't do anything. So clearly it's like she's not the problem, I am. It's like as far as I need to do something differently. And it was kind of, I think, in a way, like, having those few sessions with him leading really opened up, like, what could be. Clearly things can go a certain way because he's doing it. So clearly it's more of a methodology of what I need to do and differently. And it's tough to learn it, and it takes, it was tough to see her be that well with him, but yet Christy and I can't do it. It's just like, and it seems so simple, like you said, it just, at the same time, it's a change in your mind and our way of doing things.
That's one of the biggest differences between this therapy and the others. Rick shows us how to do it instead of taking our child away becoming their best buddy and then spitting their kid back out at us.
Mhm.
He actually takes us in and helps us understand how we can help these kids. And we then
Mhm.
are the ones making the difference in their life, not some person they see once a week.